What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It is time for a review of the 5th album by hard rock and alternative metal band Nothing More. It's called The Stories We Tell Ourselves, aka we lie to ourselves constantly to either make ourselves feel better about ourselves or else the world around us. And it's a very interesting concept because, as we learned, a lot of us at least, who got into Nothing More's last album, their self-titled, which was fantastic. I think we learned that this band has a lot to say, and their lead singer is very outspoken, and I like that. They stand out from many of the modern hard rock bands and just rock in general because not only is he a charismatic vocalist and their instrumentation is varied and goes from light to heavy and has some cool interludes and slower moments as well, but they also have an edge whenever it comes to the lyrical content. And I was interested to see what they were going to do on this new record, considering I liked the singles. The two that I heard, the lead-off ones, Don't Stop, I think, was the more standout of that, between that and Go to War, but I was interested to see what was going to come. Could they make a 58-minute album work and 18 different songs? And whenever I saw that, I was like, wow. And then I realized that a lot of that is just kind of transition time and some interlude tracks, that sort of thing. And through, I'm pretty impressed with this thing, to be quite honest. It's one of those albums that I wouldn't say is just flawless or super fantastic, but there's definitely some gripping tracks that remind me of why I love them in the first place. The band's self-titled album made my favorite albums list in 2014, and This Is the Time Ballast was my favorite song of 2014, so obviously I had some expectations going into this. And not that they were entirely paid off, but I still come out of this record feeling pretty satisfied. I don't think that there's any tracks that hit quite as hard as like Christ Copyright or The Matthew Effect or even This Is the Time or Jenny or God Went North. God, there were so many great songs on that album. But still, I do have a nice little building stack over here of ones that I want you guys to take a look at, even if you don't listen to the entire album, which I think you should because there is an overarching theme of kind of politics and commentary and inwards inspection, especially on moments like Don't Stop and Funny Little Creatures especially. But seriously, I think that if you try out some of these songs, you'll definitely be drawn to the project. Overall, if I had to describe the sound, I think it's a mixture of kind of what they had built on with the hard rock edge, maybe some progressive tendencies to the rock as well, but I think that here they add in a little bit more in terms of like some electronic flair, and I think that it rounds out their sound nicely. It doesn't sound like them selling out or anything like that whatsoever. In fact, I think it just helps things from getting stale, because if they had tried to make the self-titled album again, obviously that wouldn't have worked. This album does a nice job of kind of splicing in some variety. We get tracks like Still in Love, which is very earnest in its attempts. It starts off kind of slow with the guitars and the drums and a more bombastic chorus that really grips you. And I could say similar things for Don't Stop because it builds up. It kind of has that deep bass going at the first part of the track, and then you break in with that chorus. I love it. I actually went running to that song the other night, and it totally amped me up. And I know what you're thinking. John goes running? No, not very often, but maybe I should, because songs like this would kick my ass in gear. The Great Divorce is fantastic commentary on where we're at as a country right now. Let 'Em Burn is catchy as hell with its punchy guitars, and Go to War actually has a great chorus. Even if I'm not that crazy about what's going on in the verses, I just don't personally find them as captivating, but overall still a really well done song. And that's followed immediately after by another track that just kind of throws you for a curve, Just Say When, which actually gets much more emotive, and I'm glad that they're able to pull off a song like this without it sounding cheesy or else forced. I'm actually enjoying a lot of the transition tracks as well, especially ones like Accept, Disconnect, and even React, Respond, because you get these little speeches and you see these samples of things, and it gives you insight into what they're trying to push, whether it be a political edge or a personal statement. And I think that some of them come at perfect times in the record. Like, for example, React, Respond comes right after Funny Little Creatures, which is a song about saying, you know what, I can find a problem with everybody else, but sometimes maybe I'm the problem. That's something that honestly I have to look at sometimes, because I feel like that's true. Maybe sometimes I'm looking to call out everybody else, but maybe it's just a personal thing for me that I can't get past. And I think that they are making statements bigger than that, but I think that that's the overarching theme there, and React, Respond kind of plays on that and then takes us perfectly into The Great Divorce. The album does feel a bit bloated overloaded though, honestly. There's a good handful of tracks that I feel like are solid and are good, but they could have been trimmed down a bit. I mean, this could have been a 12 or 13 song album easily. I mean, the interludes, while some of them, like I said, pretty cool, I think that could have been trimmed down some. And honestly, some of these songs do sound kind of similar to each other. I mean, just the choruses and the way that they roll around. They have this tendency to just build up this bombastic chorus, and they're enjoyable, but at the same time, I don't know how much staying power they have, because I rock the hell out to Do You Really Want It, Ripping Me Apart, Don't Stop, but they also have their flaws, especially moments like Ripping Me Apart. I get a little bit tired of the way that they slur and stretch the vocals on that one, and towards the end of the album with like Who We Are, it just seems a little bit cheesy, a little bit too much like stuff I've heard from other rock bands, and maybe even other Nothing More songs in general. Who We Are, Tunnels, towards the end of this thing, it just kind of goes out on a little bit weaker of a note until we get to Fade In, Fade Out, which is just a chilling, perfect ending to this album. I could have cut out a few songs in between, but once we get to that, we see a song where he's talking about his father. It seems like Johnny Hawkins, the lead singer of this band, is actually diving into seeing his father age. I have watched you fade in, now you watch me fade out. And it's like from his father's perspective. And the way that the guitars, the bass, and the drum all come together in syncopation on this one, it's fantastic. Probably the best song on here in my opinion. We've definitely got another solid rock album on our hands here with the stories we tell ourselves. Is it as great as their last album? No, I don't personally think so, but that was kind of a hard task to follow up, and I don't think that they fell on their face and flopped with this new one. I just don't think that it's as captivating, I guess, as a whole. So me personally, I'm gonna say a moderate replay factor. There's definitely some songs that I'll come back to, but overall, I'm gonna have to score it a 3.5 out of 5. What did you guys think about the new one from Nothing More? Sound off in the comments section down below. Please slap a like on this video, and if you'd like to see another video where I talk about Nothing More, tap right over here, right here for another rock review. My Patreon is over there in the corner, and all of my socials in the description. I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.